Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to V with Mike G, the show of life, the show of Aruba, the show of doing radio, education, but mostly about Cointreau. Today's amazing conversation with the soon-to-be national manager of Collectif 1806, Miss Emily Arseneau. It's interesting because it's kind of the hunter becoming the hunted, as I've talked about with Michael Sanders. Emily used to do radio. This time she's behind the mic and getting interviewed, and it was kind of an interesting turn of the tables. We have a great chat, but today is Halloween, and there is a very special event going down tonight in Dallas at Victor Tango's. Some of the podcast alums, if you will be guest bartending at this wonderful event, one of which is Emily will be there tonight. You talk about Omar Yafun, you remember him, Josh Hendricks, Jules Hagen, and Brian Floyd. This is benefiting the Barman's Fund and an amazing event to catch these all-stars all together in the same room on Halloween of all nights. But that aside, let's dive in to this chat with Emily Arseneau of Collectif 1806.
The radio DJ in college, and I for a little bit, and then I actually haven't touched it or thought about it in like 10 years. And then last week I was in Curacao and Aruba doing like cocktail classes for the local community there.
I saw some pictures. What do you think about Aruba? Windy as hell, right?
Aruba, I'm not that into. Sorry, guys.
No, I didn't really like it either.
It was like fat, red, swollen American tourists that like wore compression socks and like fanny packs, and they were fine. They're
fat, red, and small. You're right. That is it. That defines it exactly.
They're pretty.
All you can get is grouper everywhere, unless you go into the city. Because like when you're on the beach, like all they serve is the same kind of fish.
Yeah,
it's just like Applebee's and shit.
Yeah,
and it's like, really?
I didn't like it. Curacao, however, is
different deal.
The bomb. Curacao is awesome.
What is it? What would you say is the difference? I know they're somewhat close, right?
So Curacao is, I guess, bigger but less developed. And Aruba is super westernized.
Yeah.
The difference in the bar communities there is like Aruba is a little bit more ahead. I mean, they're still,
They've got the desalinization. Is that what it is? Desalination or desalination with the water. Like, have you seen those big plants that they just suck in all the seawater, and that's where all the drinking water comes from?
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think they have more access to like with all the tourism. So in Aruba, it's 80% American tourists, and in Curacao, it's 80% Dutch.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. And both are, both speak Dutch on both islands. But the bartenders have more access to like tourists and people from other communities, and and they have bigger, more expensive hotels. Like the Ritz-Carlton has a beautiful program there.
Oh, amazing.
Excuse me, but. Curacao is still, there's not really any major hotels. It's like all boutique. It's just a little bit more isolated.
So you get people that are like, it's the path less traveled. So you have people that are a little bit more initiated that go out there, I would say.
Yeah.
Because like in Aruba, in my experience anyway, that people go and they hang and they just want it to be really, really easy.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to explore anything,
No.
It's much like cocktails, right? It's like, well, I'll just have my vodka.
Yeah.
So, God bless you, sir, but someday it's good to upgrade,
Yeah, Curacao is awesome. I mean, I think the flagship bar program there would definitely be, right now, it's a place called Come. The lead bartender there is named Luke. Unfortunately, I don't know how to pronounce Luke's last name, so it's very Dutch. But
I can hardly pronounce Anatham or whatever. So
we'll get to that. But Luke's unbelievable. He's opening up his own place with a distributor partner of ours, and it's like a big company called Brancy, and they have a distribution company. They have a radio station, and that's who I was doing interviews with. Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's wild. And now they're opening up this cocktail bar, and it's going to be like a super progressive, like the first like cocktail bar on the island.
Proper that's incredible. Like,
so
putting that in,
place.
being at the foundation, It's besides Curacao, which I don't even think comes from that region anymore, does it? I think originally
No, it's not
did,
appellation controlled at all. I mean, historically, so Dutch colonization in Curacao was in 1634. So we think that, they were really the pioneers of the style. And originally, yes, Curacao, the liqueur, came from the island off the coast of Venezuela.
Right.
Of course.
And
I don't know. Since I'm just saying numbers and facts, it's about 18 miles and blah, blah, blah.
Like, we're going to have the best voices of any of the interviews. We'll go back. But of course.
This day in wacky history. No, but so the orange liqueur is a very general category. It can really be a lot of different things. It's just an sweetened alcoholic beverage that tastes like oranges. Right. Is essentially all it is.
Like or reminiscent of oranges.
Yeah,
I think
and there's really not a lot of regulation at all. But so Curacao was one of the premier styles. But yes, Curacao now. So that would be Curacao style today would be like a Grand Marnier or Cointreau Noir. So they're going to be brandy based and much higher sugar level, lower essential oils. Much heavier, maybe like a nut maceration in there.
Well, there's some luging here too, which
so we're drinking Cointreau, which is triple sec.
Oh, I see.
So it gets a little crazy because they're two totally different categories.
Even categorically.
Yes. So Curacao it started with Curacao, and then oranges were like the most exotic, crazy flavoring that anyone had ever heard of at let's go to the early 1800s.
Right.
So to be on trend, the brothers Cointreau in 1849, when they opened their distillery, wanted to do a Curacao because that's what everybody wanted. Oranges were the most exotic thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Make the hits, man.
Yeah. Come on. So they made one. And we have our archival documents. I don't know if you've ever been to Angers, but at the Cointreau distillery, they have like unbelievable archives. And our 6th generation Cointreau family member, Alfred Cointreau, has really kind of taken it upon himself to, really do a lot of research and family history and archiving himself. And so, him and the team of people he was working with identified. Is this boring?
No.
Okay.
Well, I mean, so it's not boring, but there are things like that I'm really curious about.
Okay. Well, so. All right, we're talking about how they became two different categories.
Well, yeah. So, that's part of it, right? But I guess part of it is you seem so interested in the history aspect. I'm more curious why you're interested in it, if that makes sense. Not to say it's boring necessarily, right? But like you know it, and you seem to have some deep insight as to why this happens. Like, what is this? How does this interest you?
I feel really connected to it on a personal level because. My boss, and who's also a close friend of mine, was the global Cointreau ambassador for so long, and he's from Angers, and his family was so proud of him when he could work for Cointreau. So like, there's a personal connection there. I'm, very good friends with Alfred, who's the 6th generation family member. And so obviously he's passionate about it, and I can't help but get excited.
It's infectious. Right?
Yeah. But real quick, and I'll just knock this out.
No, go ahead.
So. The brothers Cointreau did make a Curacao in 1851, but we can kind of see from the records that they weren't so stoked on it, and really didn't.
Any idea why it wasn't working for them?
They just I don't know if it was a commercial success or not, but they just didn't feel like it was the apex of what an orange liqueur could be.
Okay.
So we see them. You can see the recipes and the lineage of them, like lowering the sugar or. Adding fresh or sweet orange peels as well as bitter, which is historically it's only bitter in Curacao.
Right.
So they're adding additional ingredients. They're taking away sugar. They're sourcing oranges from different places, and then eventually they decide to get rid of the brandy base altogether and not make it an aged spirit at all, and use a neutral beet,
like a beet
spirit.
sugar,
a beet distillate. And they do sweeten it with beet sugar too.
Interesting.
But so at that point, it was 1875, and they're like, we've done something completely different than we set out to do. It's not even a Curacao anymore.
So it becomes a side project almost, right?
So it became triple sec because they were naming it. It started as Curacao, and then it changed to Curacao triple sec, and then it changed to Curacao triple, and then they're like, you know what? Let's just drop the Curacao and it's triple sec.
Total different thing.
Yeah,
new kid.
Yeah. Three times as dry.
Dry, got it. Okay.
Yeah, 3 times the concentrated aromatics. It's just totally different. So they're like, it doesn't even have the same base spirit anymore. It's just too different to call it that category. So that's how
they stumbled upon a different genre.
Yeah. So, we believe that that's how triple sec was invented. So.
Interesting. By accident. Because it's like, well, we tried to write a top 40 song, and then we ended up doing it, but in a whole different way. I love that. I always go back to music.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we're going to have to talk about radio.
I'm totally happy to talk about music. Huge part of my life.
Oh, good.
I'm not a musician, but...
No, but you love it. I mean, you were part of college radio. Obviously, at that point, you had to be... Because I was an intern for a radio station, alternative stuff in the early, mid-90s. You just know everything that comes in.
Yeah.
It's like, I shouldn't know Gwen Mars, right? I shouldn't know American Records and all these other kinds of the small labels from the 90s, but now I just can't get it from my memory now.
Yeah.
So, but if I have read Facebook, correct?
I mean the news.
The news.
Yeah.
That's right. So you're a Louisianian?
Yes.
Is that right? So you're born and raised in Louisiana?
Yes. I'm from all over the state. I was born in Lafayette.
Yeah.
I went to LSU, so I was in Baton Rouge for many years. Actually went to boarding school before college, which is pretty unique.
Did you do something?
No. It wasn't
no fights?
No, it wasn't a disciplinarian thing, and it wasn't a private program. It was like a pre-college program.
Oh, okay.
So
more like prep school in a sense, right?
Yeah, it was like we shared a campus with the college campus, and that's how I got into radio because it was one of the what do you call electives that you could do. Yeah. So I was like,
what would it have been? So what was kind of the main point of study at that point before you even kind of discovered radio? Were you thinking history, science?
Art, yeah.
Yeah, because you're a studio art major?
I was a studio art major. I majored in ceramics, actually.
Ceramics? Really?
Yeah, which shockingly, as I've grown up and become so much more interested in distillation, for instance, there's certain aspects of it where there's some funny overlap.
Well, you can make a ceramic still if you want it.
I could. That's a bit weird, but...
It is. But, I mean, you can do clay stuff. They make a lot of... Mescaleros will use clay.
There you go.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
So I might actually ask you to make me a pot of some sort.
I don't know if I still got it, but
it could be lopsided. It's fine. It could be.
I was even thinking during the malting process, understanding that whole thing.
Yeah.
When we first started talking about kilns and all that, I was like, oh yeah, I got this. That's fine.
Interesting. So where does the artistry come from? Are your folks artistic? Do you have any brothers and sisters? That's how they leaned?
My sister's very artistic, but she ended up in academia. She's a professor at Tulane of Louisiana history.
Yeah, amazing.
And my brother is in a nursing program in Louisiana.
Very cool.
But I actually ended up in Oregon, and that's I was living in Portland for about 3 years.
Yeah,
but
that'll do it to anybody.
All right, no, I think that's what knocked it out of me. Actually, I was
really?
like, I don't know.
So is it the Oregon pieces before you went to LSU or after you went to LSU?
After, yeah. When I graduated college, I moved to Portland, and then I actually met my husband pretty right off the bat. I mean, husband as of this October, but yeah, so we were there. He was there for 13 years. I was there for 3, and then he got a job in Dallas, so we moved to Dallas.
Interesting. Yeah, even you can't be real stoked on Dallas. Dallas is great. There's some great people, but it's so big. It's so massive.
Oh,
I still can't get it yet.
I love Dallas. I'll be honest. Yeah, it's been super good to me. The people are amazing. Our friend group, I just couldn't ask for better friends.
I mean, there's some like Josh Hendricks I love. Like Josh.
I met Josh Hendricks when I was 11 years old.
Whoa, wait. Because he's from Louisiana.
He's from the neighborhood next to mine where I grew up in Louisiana.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Was he?
I'm not kidding. Yes.
No, was he like a skate? Because I've interviewed Josh as well. Like, was he a skater punk kid too?
He was a skate kid. I was really close. My 2 best friends growing up were these 2 boys. One that lived across the street from me, and one that lived in the next neighborhood over. And that's Josh's little brother.
No kidding.
Yeah, who now lives
insane.
here actually.
That's so crazy. Yeah, well, because his brother, we talked about, he's like a hipster guitar player or something.
Yeah.
We don't know which band it was. I don't think we remembered. But anyway, it's a very cool thread. And so you've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
That's insane.
More than half of my life.
Who would have thought?
Yeah. He was the first person I ever knew with a car, which was awesome. Really? Yeah, I had this big white Cadillac that was called Big Sexy. And we'd be like, Josh, will you bring us to Sonic? Can we hang out at Sonic? Sexy? And he's like, all right. He was so nice. Super nice to us.
Still like one of the nicest dudes.
He's super nice.
Well, I'm still I guess I can understand the art piece and moving to Portland or Oregon specifically. So the radio thing, was it about the music? Was it about being on air? What exactly about that appealed to you?
It was exciting being on air for sure.
Yeah.
I used to tape my old shows. It's called the Emily Tastic Show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What was the theme of the show?
I don't know, just whatever I was into at the moment. I mean, I'm one of those people that gets like super excited about one song or one album, and I like listen to it over and over and over and over and over again until I just can't stand it anymore.
So it begs the question, if you can go back, like, what, 10 years now, something like that?
Over 10 years, yeah.
Over 10 years?
Yeah.
It's almost like 20 for me. But anyway, but what, could you think of one of those nuggets for you? One of those records that like you just kept listening to over and over again? There's probably a lot, but
there's a lot. I mean, I think at the time I was 16. So let's be clear. When I first started doing radio, I was 16 years old. I loved the Mars Volta.
Which one though? Crematorium? Francis the Mule.
Francis the Mute.
The Mute. That's right.
Mute. I loved them. I loved God, there was like a Kills record at the time that I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Fried My Little Brains. I was like super into that. And then I went on like this super weird Harry Nilsson kick. Loved, but which has come back around, and now
he's brilliant.
Yeah, he is.
And it's weird because you like when we talk about Harry Nilsson, he is the quintessential pop writer. He is not. His music is not esoteric. Those are Beatle. I mean, him being a friend of John Lennon stuff. Those are like Beatle-esque songs all the time. So did you ever think about it like that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
actually.
like what's the main one on Nilsson Smilson? The one about love, or
Without You?
Thank you. Yeah, beautiful song, but really accessible pop.
Oh, and it's only like a minute and a half long.
Oh, it's so
I can even get my husband to sing it in the car and like it's over before he starts to get embarrassed. Like he's like, "Oh, this is fun," and then as soon as like he's like, "Oh, now I feel self-conscious," it's over.
Did you? Oh my God!
I'm like, tricked you. That was great.
it's so good.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the documentary about that? No? It's called Who the Fuck is Harry Nilsson?
Oh, no.
And so there's this interesting thing, and as a fan of him, so that record, Nilsson Smilson, which was a really big deal for him, kind of what broke him. He was hanging out with John Lennon one night, apparently, after doing this record. This is kind of breaking him. He's got at least like 3 singles on that record, Jump in the Fire, blah, blah. So he goes and he hangs out with Lennon, and they have a screaming contest in studio.
Okay.
Right? So John Lennon is amazing screamer, right?
I've never heard of him, so I don't know. I'm just kidding.
She's so heavy. There's this point where he's yelling so loud, he like breaks the mic basically on the recording. You can hear it. It's insane. So that ruined Harry Nilsson's voice for the rest of his career. He talks about this moment where he was trying to out yell Lennon, and he did, and then he found blood on the microphone.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I actually admittedly have a lot of vocal issues myself.
Do you really?
I'm not a singer at all, but I have from working in smoky bars for so long, I have nodules on my vocal cords.
Do you really?
And I'm one of those people, I talk constantly.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. And I guess I talk incorrectly, I've been told by doctors. And then I've actually, shockingly, a lot of people in my life that are speech therapists, which is really bizarre.
Really?
Yeah, but
I guess that's good, right?
Maybe. But I'm told the way I speak, I speak from the front of my mouth.
Okay.
And I don't pull, I guess, air from my diaphragm. Maybe I just push it out way too hard. So like it's like I'm working too hard. And a colleague of mine is deaf, and he's a lip reader, and he's like, it's really difficult to read your lips.
Really? So you can tell from your embouchure, like how you're actually talking.
Yeah, he's like, wherever you're creating the sounds from, it's like it's so difficult.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So has it proved to be kind of like, do you get fatigued when you're doing these talks and lectures?
I do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, only if I'm like on a tour or something, and like in Curacao, for instance, or Tales of the Cocktail, where it's just like you're on all the time. You're so excited. You're seeing all your friends. You're giving presentations, and then at the end of the week, it's just like croak. So I feel for Harry Nilsson. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's that's an amazing parallel. Is there anything you can do to kind of make it easier for you? Like, I don't know, Rand's whiskey. Actually, Axl Rose, I think, for some point would just die by drinking whiskey before a show, saying it helped his vocal cords.
I think it's the opposite. Actually, you're supposed to stay really hydrated.
That's the reality of it.
That's the reality. Yeah. He might. I'm sure it made him feel great, but actually, drinking a lot is detrimental. Though.
Absolutely.
I mean, to that at least. But
yeah,
whatever.
It's weird, but that's a very interesting point, because, and this kind of maybe we can lead into industry talk at this point, but there's repetitive injuries. People talk about elbows and joints all the time. But
shoulders. Oh my God, my shoulders.
Yeah.
Only time they stopped hurting was when I stopped bartending.
No kidding.
Like I tried
Rotator
everything.
cuff stuff like in the front or
more like mobility issues.
Yeah.
Like when you were. Why don't I let you finish your?
No, that's. We're riffing. This is the best part. This is the best part. No, but you're right. Like the repetitive injuries. But I don't think anybody talks about the voice.
Yeah, and that's where mine started because I started bartending in Louisiana.
Yeah,
and you could still smoke in bars up until like 4 years ago.
It was that really?
Yeah, and I worked in like this tiny no ventilation concrete box.
Yeah.
Great little, divey bar downtown, but
not
like
great for your health.
But not great for your health. So,
was that a school? Because most people, when they kind of enter that industry, is just a means to support yourself during school. Did you want to?
I used to hang out there, and I just loved it so much that I was like, "Can I work here?" Because I just loved everybody that worked there so much. So, they kind of taught me how to bartend, and we had a blast with some of the best. Time in my life,
best memories, right?
It's like
you got a radio show.
Yeah.
You're going to school for art. You're working at a bar. I mean, that's the trifecta of having a very enjoyable,
pretty fun.
Yeah, like early adulthood.
Yeah.
So then it begs the question: then what took you to Portland?
I'd been in Louisiana my whole life, and all of 19 years of it or something.
That's enough for many people, yeah.
Well, don't get it twisted. It's the best state in the union. Let's just be clear.
Of course.
Grass is always greener, and it is a very conservative atmosphere. You find your bubble and you find your friends and like-minded people.
It's not necessarily challenging, right?
It just can wear on you sometimes. Some of the social issues are very intense, and it can be very dangerous as well. And so, there's a part of me that's like, I have been working so hard, and I just kind of want to go to some place that feels easy.
Yeah.
And
which is weird because it's called the Big Easy.
It's true. That is weird.
God damn it. Irony is killing me.
It's not easy.
It's good marketing though.
But so I ended up in Portland just because I wanted, that's where I thought, and now it's totally taken off. This was in 2009, I guess.
Yeah.
2009. I moved to Portland, and that's really when Portland was starting to see the, people just start streaming in, because they wanted to be around liberal, creative, like-minded young people, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's true. It was like this haven for creativity and liberalism and all that.
Yeah, and I'm sure my Portland friends would argue that has been very detrimental for the city as it stands now,
fair.
But
people would say the same about Austin, too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's true. You guys have a lot of similarities. But,
right, we're kind of like Portland Junior because we haven't been around long, but all the influx of people bitch about it all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know why, But you enjoyed it?
I did. It was a great city. I mean, I think I knew living there, like, this is a great experience. And I met, these amazing people. I met my husband. That's where I really learned to bartend, like, for real. And I loved it. It was a great experience, but I never really belonged there. And I'm happy to be back in the South.
Because you're
I'm Southern.
Born and raised in the South. Yeah. So you have this art piece. At what point was it pretty clear that you actually really wanted to pursue hospitality?
I always just had so much fun bartending, and I'm like a fun addict, and my husband will tell you, like, I'm addicted to fun. Yeah. Like, I want to be having fun at all moments.
Shit, are you having fun now? I feel like I might be like discounting this for you.
It's difficult for me to sit this long, to be fair, but I'm having a great time.
Good. This is great.
And I love social interaction, and I love meeting new people, and and I love being the reason that someone else is having fun.
Sure. You like to enable fun, and imbibe in fun.
So that was always my thing. And when I met my husband, he's an unbelievable artist. He's a painter.
Oh, really?
He's a tattoo artist now. But he's, went to a very fancy painting school.
Did he by chance do your work on your own?
He has one piece on my leg.
That's so cool.
It's covered right now. But very talented and an incredible artist. So I think there's a part of me, like when I met him, that I was like, there's only room for one artist in this family. Like, if we're going to make this work, like, that's going to be your thing, and I'm just going to do this other thing. Like,
you're not a Leo, are you?
I'm not, no.
All right, that's something that happens with those guys.
But,
that makes sense. So you're like, all right, you do that. I'm going to be really good at this other thing that you're not doing.
Well, he was doing it, though.
Oh,
he actually has he has ownership in 2 bars in Portland and was bartending. It was more like low-key, like neighborhood, awesome places that actually have great cocktail programs, one of which is like really good. But he was never like, he loved it and he was super good at it and had, and has a great personality. And so people, loved having him behind the bar, but I don't think he was ever had the same fervor for the cocktail stuff that I did.
Yeah. Did you find it then like kind of academically stimulating as well?
Yeah, it was very challenging. Yeah. So yeah, I just got addicted to learning about that history and those drinks and that environment. And the reason I got into it is because, I was just kind of tired of working at shitholes.
Yeah.
And I was like, the people that know about cocktails seem to have great jobs. People treat them with so
nice
much respect.
Places, yeah.
These nice, fancy places. I'm like, that's where I want to work. I don't want to get yelled at anymore. And I definitely don't want to be around smoke. So
God, no kidding.
So that was kind of how I was like, I want to learn to do this.
Well, so what was the Dallas gig, the work that kind of brought you guys here?
So when we moved to Dallas, let's see, I think I made it like 2 weeks as a cocktail waitress at this like horrendous uptown bar. I don't know if you've never ever hung out in uptown Dallas.
Yeah.
I love Dallas, and I will always go to bat for Dallas every single day, but not a big uptown fan.
Nah,
it's not
me
me.
Neither.
So
I like to wear what I like to wear and not feel like I'm underdressed.
It was a little weird, but I mean, there's some really good spots over there, but at the time, those places weren't really around yet.
Right.
But, so I was, and then I went to a place called The Porch, which is this like money factory. And basically it's like upscale, casual, like Southern restaurant. It's huge. It's beautiful. The food is really good. The drinks are, cocktails, but totally like cocktails for the masses.
Sure.
And super high volume and, this giant bar. I think it was like 25 seats at the bar, wow. 22. Very athletic job. I've never worked so hard in my life.
Did you like that aspect of it, the physical part?
I did. Yeah. And their training program was nothing like I'd ever been through. And it's funny because it wasn't like this fine dining, white tablecloth place, but their training program is so intense and their standards are so high, like ridiculous.
Right.
And it was the most rigorous thing I've ever done.
Wow.
But I feel like coming out on the other side of that, if you can be a great bartender there, you can be a great bartender anywhere.
Yeah, you got to love that, right?
Yeah.
If you can hustle, like if you can go and survive in New York proper, then you can probably go anywhere.
Right.
Unless it's too slow. And then you're like, fuck this, I'm out.
I got to get out of here. And so then I was there for a while, about over a year or something, and I consulted on a few projects around Dallas. The Lower Greenville is an area that's super booming now, but at the time was still kind of coming up. And so one of the flagship properties there, this place called HG Supply Company.
Oh, yeah.
I did a
lot.
Yeah. I did a lot of, I opened that place. But
did you really?
Yeah, that was for all my menus.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is he coming in town for the thing? I saw he was copied on it.
We just talk a lot. I tagged him and I invited him because we talk a lot about like community issues and like community. Oh, amazing. He's incredible. So I did all their opening trainings and menus.
Oh, cool.
And then worked at a place did the same thing for a place called the Truck Yard across the street that had like a treehouse bar. And so they were trying to solve that issue. So
that's already an issue.
So we did bottled cocktails that were delightful. And
so it's all kind of speeding up and like you found your home in a sense.
Yeah.
Like you've nestled yourself in this industry. What was that transition like onto the brand side? Because I hate titles, and I'm sure everybody does because they have to come up with something so funny and so clever, or really really black and white. But like, so right now, what would you say your title is? Because you've transitioned fully to the brand side of it.
Yeah. After all that, I was at a place called Victor Tango's managing their bar, but not. I mean, it was under a year before I had already kind of started developing a relationship with the people at Remy Cointreau.
Yeah.
And when this position opened up, they approached me and approached my boss and, asked what we thought. And it was tough because I felt like I was finally like truly hitting my stride as a bartender. That was like, I was finally, finding my voice and, figuring out, I don't know, just like really coming into my own. Yeah. And then, I was afraid that moving to the brand side, I would be like plucked too early or something,
Like, interesting. Yeah.
I was afraid my growth would be stunted in that way.
Makes sense, yeah.
And it hasn't. It hasn't because, it has because I'm not physically behind the bar
Right,
working
so
every
maybe,
day.
like, tactically, you can't make drinks the same way, but imagine how much more elements of business you're exposed to.
For sure.
Yeah.
And now I'm not just exposed to my program. I, see bars all over the world. I have friends from all over the world that like teach me so much every day that I'm actually just learning at a crazy rate that I am like
you're going
feel
back to
overwhelmed
college,
most of the time. Yeah.
Right? It's this whole other kind of curriculum that maybe you would never expect.
It's been a really good thing.
So with Remy now officially, is that the right way to, or is Collectif
1806? Yeah,
that it's a learning facet of Remy.
It's our bartender engagement program that was created by people at Remy. A man named Richard Lambert, who's my direct boss. He really thought that at the time, I guess this was about 4 or 5 years ago, and they really or 5-ish years ago. That was something that Remy Cointreau wasn't doing enough of, was like, really engaging with bartenders and really like collaborating with them and, getting them excited about the brands. And that's a huge part of the puzzle, about
absolutely. Well, engagement, right? Yeah. Whether it is in a sales environment or just a purely academic one or educational one.
And obviously if bartenders are excited about your brands, then consumers are going to be excited about your brands, and then the brand
evangelical
will live forever.
Absolutely.
But so this was his answer to that. And
brainchild.
Yeah, it's and it's been an awesome program. I think a lot of these types of programs are really like sell, and this is so not that way. And
how would you say, and I know it's different. I've met, like we were talking earlier, met plenty of people kind of affiliated with it, and it feels like and this is a good thing.
Yeah.
It feels like an Oprah book club.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like where people like are talking about an issue or talking about a piece of something, and they're like, oh, it made me feel this way.
Right.
And it's like, I like this and I don't like this. And it's just a circle of people. And
I think above all, it's just, it's just like a collective of bartenders that, it can be it's kind of intangible because it means different things to different people. Right. For me, a lot of times it's, and this is something that Justin Elliott and I have talked a lot about. I like it to think of it as like a platform, for information sharing, and I know best practices are very important to Justin, and that's something we talk about a lot. For some people it's networking, for some people it's education. Right. I mean, it's anything
what you need it to be.
Yeah. We're just trying to connect people. And it's a difficult question to ask sometimes when people are like, or answer sometimes when people are like, what do you do for a living?
Right.
I'm like, this week I did this, next week I'll do this. But, at the end of the day, I think I'm a brand ambassador. Right. I champion a certain portfolio that the Remy Cointreau portfolio that I super believe in.
What are a couple, sort of sub you, what are a couple of the main things that are really your favorites in the portfolio? Some of the players that you really like. I honestly can say that I love all the brands in the portfolio. I think technically we own Pessoa, but I'm not going to act like I know much about that. But no, I really, I think, the House of Remy Martin, like, come on, historic. Yeah. Mount Gay rum, it's the rum that, refined rum, and now rum is the way we know it today because of them, obviously Cointreau, who pioneered a whole new category, and is the botanist part of that too?
The botanist, Bruichladdich. Botanist is... Oh,
Bruichladdich too. Oh, geez.
Yeah, and those are more of our like indie, kind of the new kids. But, those guys are really determined to do their own thing.
So that's, I've interviewed Michelle Fedor, right?
Ah, Michelle's amazing.
Great. And we talked about Bruichladdich, and I told her the thing that I really liked about it is it felt like Sabbath.
Yeah.
Right? Like the way that they market, not that it's metal, but that it's just like kind of cool and underground, but still dark,
Yeah.
And that's how some of those brands are, like the Botanist, which is the same guys, obviously, but they're making something that's like slightly more polished, maybe math rock versus what is like something a little more metal,
That's hilarious. And, it's funny that you use something like math rock. Math rock, because it is a very calculated brand in the sense that the gin, I feel that way because, I don't know if Michelle told you the story of how it was kind of invented, but like, some people think it's this like miracle that, we did allegedly, the story is like that, Jim took this chance and, we had this amazing still and working with botanists to get all these unique flavors. But the funny part to me is that everyone's like, and then he distilled it, and 17 hours later, it was perfect. And it just worked on the first time. And I'm like, yeah, he's been distilling shit for 40 years.
It wasn't like an accident.
It wasn't like an accident. Yeah, if anyone is going to do it right the first time, it's going to be Jim McEwen. Like, you know, and so that part of the story I think is kind of funny.
I think that's funny too, because it's like anytime Paul McCartney picks up a guitar, whether it's in my living room or my garage or a big stadium, always going to be good.
Yeah,
you know, it's just kind of how it goes. But I like that because you've got Cointreau. If you take those three, they've got such different tones, such different backgrounds, such different genres to it.
For sure.
You know, and I don't know if it's to a fault or not, but I love always using music as an analogy because it's one of the only things I can really get. You know, and Brooke Gladdy is that, like, kind of like punkish.
Yeah. Oh, they're
kind of loud.
They're more punk than you realize. Absolutely.
I fucking hope.
I mean, that's why it was a huge deal because, you know, they've been such an experimental and progressive brand since 2000, since they reopened in 2000, that, you know, they have this cult following. Mm-hmm. So when Remy Cointreau purchased them in 2013, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. It's like your favorite.
They went to a major label, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's your favorite band getting signed by Sony, you know? And I mean, admittedly, we're smaller. Our company's a lot smaller than people think we are.
Records,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like a big indie.
Exactly. Yes.
You're not Interscope. You're not Sony.
No. But, you know, this was a big deal to people because they're like, oh my God, everything's going to change. Everything's going to be different. The juice is, you know, like we're going to be some kind of repressive force on them or something. And like, absolutely not. It's been an amazing partnership. You know, believe me, these guys aren't going to let anyone tell them what to do.
I love that.
So, no, it's been awesome. It's been
so
really
cool because it parallels so many bands' careers. Because, like, even if Nirvana blew up in 91, it's not because they changed their sound.
Right.
It's just because they were still young, right?
Yeah.
And then they do In Utero, right? So despite what kind of hands Geffen has on the whole process, and everybody's like, oh, well, they're going to sound like every other Geffen band now. No, you guys still do it, and you're still gritty. Just got more reach, bigger audience than before.
That's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's such a cool thing. It's like it's such a success story for this guy.
This is off topic, but I feel you'll appreciate this. You said earlier about the Harry Nilsson documentary, which I haven't seen, but I did watch Dig, that Brian Jonestown Massacre documentary, like the day before I met Anton Newcomb.
Really?
Yeah, at in New Orleans at Toiropa, which is after Katrina never opened up again.
Okay.
But this must have been 2004.
That's back in the heyday then.
Yeah. And you know, and my boyfriend at the time, you know, really wanted to go, and was like, I guess, so excited that we went way too early. Like he was like afraid we weren't going to get a good seat or something, and it's just like standing room only in this super small place.
And there was no one else there, right?
There's no one else there. So we were there like 2.5 hours early, and no one's there. So I was like, well, this is lame, but whatever. And so we sit at this table and we're just like drinking and talking or whatever. And Anton Newcomb just comes up to us and is like, hey, can I sit here? And we're like, yeah.
Isn't there like a lot? There's bound to be lots of other places to sit.
Right. But he was just like, he just like wanted to sit with the only other people that were there.
Oh, wow.
So he came and sat at our table and we talked for 2 hours.
Oh, how was it?
Insane. Oh, and by we, I mean he talked for 2 hours. Like, I mean, he just was like vomiting these crazy stories all over us. And it was like the best experience ever. It was so much fun.
There's something about NOLA. So last time I was in New Orleans, I was at DBA.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Friday night, but before the band started playing, so there wasn't like a lot of people in there. And so I'm with my wife, and we're looking around, sipping some whiskey as you do at DBA. And I'm like, I think that's Norman Reedus from Walking Dead.
Oh.
And Glenn, which I can't remember his name in real life, and then Shane from Walking Dead.
I don't watch it. It's too scary for me, but I read the comic books, so okay.
Yeah, it's kind of scary. Well, think of Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
Same dude, right?
Those guys.
So that we hung out with them, and they gave her love advice, and it involved no less than 5 mentions of duct tape.
Wow.
And I was like, that's kind of weird. But anyway, that's what happened. That's why New Orleans, no matter what kind of tangent this is, that's the place. Stuff happens.
Yeah.
Man. It totally does.
Huh.
And it's music, it's booze and all that. Did you like Tales this year? I mean, not to speak ill of it, but how was your experience this year?
I think this might have been my most favorite Tales I've had so far, but I'm lucky with Tales because my family lives in New Orleans, so
you got a place to stay.
Yeah, well, and I wasn't crashing with my sister this time, but it's like I have that out if I'm like I feel overwhelmed. I can like go have brunch with my sister and act like everything's totally normal and not totally insane, you know? So I think just mentally it's nice having that in the back of your head. But yeah, it's always busy. It's always crazy. But it's awesome. Crazy. It's like my only chance to see, not only, but one of the few times a year that I get to see my friends from all over the world.
Family reunion,
yeah. So you just never know who you're going to run into. I love it.
It's a great thing. And I still haven't went because I keep getting caught up in either with the distillery business there or with the day job and all this stuff. Like, you gotta go. Next year.
You gotta go.
I really, what I'd love to do next year, and I'll put this out there so that maybe some people can help around, and I'll talk to Ann or whatever, but I'd love to have a room and just bring people in and just spend 15 minutes, 30 minutes, something
I
really,
feel
really
like she would love that.
I would love it, man.
She's all about like something new.
Yeah,
so I
sure.
think she would love that.
It would be great. And it's great talking to all you guys in Bar Institute. I was able to do that this year.
Yeah.
And you just get, there's great people, and it's so fun to hear their stories.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the reasons that this keeps going. So this is the first time we've met, but we kind of chatted a little bit online because I heard you were coming into town, of course. And you're doing God's work in Dallas, and doing stuff globally with Remy and everything. But you're coming into town specifically. The town's in this Tuesday, which is August what? I want to get the date.
August 9th.
9th at 1 p.m. Is that right?
Oh my God, no! It's all day.
Oh,
it's
well,
so intense. We're starting at 10 a.m., which is like horrible for bartenders. You know,
True.
It's so hard.
But good for business people
who
get the real people to come out, right?
Maybe. I mean, we have a really robust RSVP list right now, so I'm very excited. But I mean, yes, all are welcome. Anyone who's interested in this kind of stuff is welcome for sure. But so it's basically like, so you guys went to Bar Institute, right? Yeah. It's this is nothing like that. This is very I love Lush Life. And I mean, I think their programming is just like unbelievable.
It's amazing. Yeah.
But it is educational, industry focused, but it's much more casual. It's much smaller. It's much. It's supposed to be like a round table, like community meeting almost, and so we have this incredible moderator, Rick Dobbs, who is from The Last Word and is a celebrated cocktail writer. He's traveling around the country.
Where is he from, by the way? I'm not sure.
I think California.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, we're meeting.
He coming in town? Do you know?
Today.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So I'll meet him for the first time tonight or tomorrow.
Right.
But we've talked online and. If you can seem hilarious through Facebook messaging, then you're probably actually really funny. So, no, but he's great. And then we were involving like local, local people to tell their stories because it's supposed to be very Austin specific and a community discussion. So it's called the Athenaeum, which is, a Latin word that basically means a center for learning, a facility for learning. And so we're going to have Justin Elliott is giving a presentation I think it's quintessentially Justin, it's like intangible and inspirational and it's, people are going to love it. And it's, I think that's going to be more about like the merits of failure and,
the merits of failure.
Yeah. And like,
that is a Justin.
Yeah. Right. And like
that's
his
lovely thing though.
Yeah. His, journey up until this point. And then Rick will be doing a 2-part, really granular, that's a Justin word for sure, granular, in-depth 2-part presentation on just bar management in general. And I'm not sure how deep he's going to dig into that, but it's like 2.5 hours long. So
that's amazing.
Broken up. And then
Justin and Dennis,
Justin Laveneau and Dennis Gobis are going to be telling their story, which is basically like How to Open 2 Bars with No Money by Justin and Dennis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, right place at right time and a lot of aspects.
And the things that are going to totally blindside you.
Yeah.
And then my presentation, I know it's super important information and I'm like hell-bent on getting the discussion going about it. I'm just so afraid that it's going to be boring. So,
what's the best possible radio-ish elevator pitch for your presentation on Tuesday? Just harken back to the days.
All right. Well, 45 Minutes in Heaven with Emily Arseneau.
That's perfect already.
Discussing managing your supplier and distributor relationships.
See, I'm already ready to at least listen for a while.
Okay, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's super important, and Texas is a crazy, very unique place to be in a leadership position in a bar, and it's a very strange world to navigate. And this is actually something that Mate and I talk about constantly. Navigating that world of you've got weird salespeople that you don't know that seem to turn over very quickly, but then they have specialists as well. And what is a distributor and how is it different than a supplier? And where are these brand ambassadors coming from? And who's this all of a sudden it's like you have a business card with your email, your new email, bar manager email on it, and it's just like blows up with all these people that like want a piece of you, and how to really get around that.
It's funny because in a sense, you as a bar manager or a beverage director, you've become a celebrity in a sense.
Oh, for sure.
And no one gave a shit before.
Right.
Like, you're running like just at the back bar.
Yeah, they're like, "Are you making the decision?" No. Okay, I gotta go. That's not fair.
That's not. How do we deal with that?
Well, hopefully that's something that we're gonna.
Is that some part of the?
That's part of it. Yeah, that's. We're gonna talk about the fundamentals.
No spoilers,
of
course.
But. Well, I mean, I just don't want it to get ugly because I know it can be really frustrating for people sometimes. And on both sides, on all sides of it, we're stuck with this tier system that can be very difficult and very confusing, but you've got some really amazing people and all in the class Bs, in the distributor, in the supplier. Like, I mean, Twin Liquor, for example, like, they're an incredible class B retailer with like people that actually give a shit about you. Yeah. Like 100%. Mm-hmm. So, it's like, I want those people to be there and I want us to all be talking about how wacky it can be, I guess. And how can we make it easier and how can we make it more transparent and how can we communicate? Because it should be a symbiotic relationship. It should be win-win collaboration all the time.
And not like a negotiation thing where it's like, well, if you buy this.
No. I mean.
You get some pep.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
That dry. I'm not in that tier.
Yeah. It's illegal.
It's so strange. Well, it's kind of like, well, maybe we'll see.
Right. Yeah.
It's a very interesting. Right now, it's such an interesting point in time because of what craft means. Everybody's got their kind of subjective opinion about it. But that's blowing up in a sense, creating so much more saturation in the market, which means more and more people, more and more brands. And then you have this wanting to be a beverage director, wanting to be a bar manager without really wanting to put in the dues.
It's a lot of emailing.
Right? Yeah.
And I feel like so many bartenders that make that transition are like, they're so good at with the guests and with drink creation and with keeping a great vibe behind the bar and even assembling a good team or things like that. But then to also have that operational part of your brain, click on and be in front of a computer doing admin every morning. Like Excel, that's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what everyone says. But
I'd like to see and be the kind of a fly on the wall and see what that collaborative, the speech, how people talk to each other and what kinds of questions it raises and everything. And so an all day affair. Yeah, well, I think we're going until. Start at 10. We'll have breakfast and coffee for everyone, and then we'll have lunch catered through the Townsend, and the food is so good. Best burger. Oh, dude, best so good. My favorite burger in Austin right now. So good.
Between a slider and a burger, but it's so good.
Yeah.
And then we'll have lunch with those guys. Finish up hopefully, I think around 3:45.
Yeah. Not too bad then.
Not too bad.
It's like 5.5 hours. That's really not that long of a day.
Yeah. Well, we'll be in a room with no windows. I hope that doesn't bother anybody.
It's a dark place.
It'll be great. It'll just, we want it to be an intense afternoon. It's going to be great.
It certainly will.
But then we'll have a happy hour at 4:30 at Small Victory. So Josh and those guys are opening early for us.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so they've got a little menu for us. And that'll actually be the only branded part of this experience.
Because the rest of it's cerebral and academic.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I really, really appreciate about this is, yes, maybe Remy's behind this, but
you're not going to see like Remy or Cointreau or Mount Gay.
I hate that.
You will at the happy hour. It'll be on the menu.
No,
obviously we'll be serving the products.
But to have a constructive conversation and dialogue between people that are in positions, it's completely separate from the brands, which it should be.
Yeah.
Because running a business and having conversations about your woes as a bar manager or your woes as an entrepreneur, that has nothing to do with brands. It's our journeys,
I have the background of a bartender, and so it makes sense to me. But then I forget that a lot of people in distribution, a lot of people in the supplier realm, like a lot of people don't. So I think sometimes people forget who's actually in charge.
Absolutely.
And it's the bartenders, Well, and the distributor who's like, no, you can't have that.
There's sometimes. The distributor piece of it. Are you taking this kind of concept, this referendum, I'll even call it, are you taking that on the road here outside of Austin?
Yeah. So we've had 2 sessions in Miami that were great.
Oh, cool.
We've had 1 session in New York City. We've had 1 session in Oakland, and then another, I want to say, in San Diego.
Interesting. So
yeah.
it's the span. You guys are on tour.
We're on tour. Yeah. And I mean, we'll see how it goes on Tuesday. I have very high hopes. I think it's, everything's falling into place, and it's going to be I just want it to be a positive experience for everybody. Yeah. They'll be back. We're going to do it again in Austin. So.
Oh, cool. Okay. Different topics, you think?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just always keep the conversation going.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like organic, because we'll see how it ends, or what really is the focus of the day on Tuesday, or what people are most interested in. And then we'll, reconfigure after that.
So because it's kind of a way to wrap this all up, but did your husband travel with you too?
Sometimes, yeah. I love Remy so much, and I got to give him big snaps. I mean, it's a French company, and quality of life is very important to them.
Absolutely.
And I'm on the road a lot, and they totally celebrate me wanting to, bring my husband.
That's incredible.
Person I like to hang out with the most, with me. So we get to travel a lot together. It's really fun.
That is great.
Yeah, he's not here for this visit, but that sucks. And everybody's like, "Where's Josh? Where's Josh?" So
got stuff to keep, I guess, holding down the fort in Dallas.
Yeah.
Happens sometimes.
He's got to watch our 2 giant dogs. And
what kind of dogs?
We've got 2 rescues. One's a white lab kind of mutt mix, and one's the elder statesman. Shaquille is some kind of like shepherdy mix. He's just brown. He's just like super brown. I don't know.
That's amazing.
They're the best.
Well, so good. So it sounds like it's a very interesting kind of trajectory from radio to art to hospitality to education. Is this all any surprise to you? Do you keep looking? You kind of like reflect back on things and think like, shit, well, this actually went in a different direction.
It did. I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people my age have not a similar story, but a similar like point, that being the recession, that you just had to make a new plan, and so, I don't know what, I never was one of those people that's like, when I grow up, I'm going to do this. When I grow up, I'm going to do this. I don't know. I just wanted to be having fun. Yeah. And, I knew I wanted to go to college, and I knew I enjoyed ceramics. So I did that, but I never thought for a second that I was going to be some celebrated production potter. Not like there's anything wrong with that. I mean,
that'd be amazing, but
that'd be amazing. But I was never that awesome at it. So, it was just something I really enjoyed, and I met amazing people, and I loved the creative environment. But, I get all that now through this. I'm able to express myself and be a critical thinker in all these ways I never expected. So.
Yeah, and you get to travel a whole bunch.
That part is really nice.
Not a bad gig.
No, a good one. Best one. I love it. I'm lucky.
I'll reach out. I think I'd like that gig.
It's really fun. I'm not going to lie. Great. It's really, really, I'm very, very, very lucky. So.
I think it's great. Well, and, the best of luck. And, of course, we're sipping on some Cointreau, as you do. 80 proof, 40%, nice illusion, just a wonderful. I mean, is there a better prototypical orange than that? There's
absolutely not.
It's the standard.
Fundamentally, absolutely not. I mean, it is lowest in sugar of any orange liqueur, highest in essential oils, which you can see from the illusion. Oh, yeah. Insane flavor. It just, how normally you drink an orange liqueur and you get that like tic-tacky flavor. This is like fresh, super zesty. I've had the pleasure of having dinner with our former master distiller, Bernadette Langlais, who just retired, I think this past week or month.
Wow.
After decades with the distillery. Amazing woman. And she's one of those people that's like, even though maybe there was a language barrier sometimes, it didn't matter, it's like she can just like see right into your soul. And it's amazing. Just like such a brilliant woman and incredible person. We had so much fun. We skateboarded together. It was really fun. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. She's like the coolest.
It's brilliant. I mean, this is, really, I appreciate you coming by on a Sunday.
Yeah, no, this is awesome.
I think Tuesday is going to be great. I think there's going to be a lot of productive conversation. We're drinking Cointreau with a single rock. It's 100 degrees out. I'm pretty pleased about this.
Me too.
I hope it was, I hope you were having fun.
I had so much fun.
It's so great, man. It's great chatting with you. And we'll absolutely have to keep in touch, Emily. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, there we have it. What do you guys think of Emily? Well-rounded, has spent some great time in the trenches in the industry, has done some radio into art, has that Louisiana soul. And this last time when we met, she was in town for the Athenaeum, kind of an educational forum to learn from some of the leaders in this industry and learn about the things that they've went through. I'm sure there will be another installment heading your way soon, but in the meantime, Emily will be leaving Texas and transitioning into a larger role with Collectif 1806 in New York in the upcoming months, and I can't wait to see what kind of direction the program takes as a result. And again, if you guys are in Dallas tonight, wanting to dress up for Halloween or not wanting to dress up for Halloween, check out Victor Tango's. You have a collection of some of the finest minds in the game, all benefiting the Barman's Fund, Mr. Brian Floyd's baby. I think it will be a great time, lots of talent, and who knows what kind of antics you guys are going to get into. So thanks everybody for listening to Show to V. It's Halloween. Don't eat too much candy. Give as much away to those fine trick-or-treaters as you can. And whether or not you're thinking about ever watching The Walking Dead again, please keep thinking.